Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, Text 22, Translation and Commentary by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Tvam naha sandarshitaha dhatra dustaram nistitir shatam kalim sattva haram pumsam karna dharaha iva arnavam tvangna sandarshito dhatra dustarang nistitir shatam kaling sattva harang pungsam karnadhara ivarnavam tvangna sandarshito dhatra dustarang nistitir shatam kaling sattva harang pungsam karnadhara ivarnavam. Ladies, Tvam, your goodness, naha, unto us, sandarshitaha, meeting, dhatra, by providence, dustaram, insurmountable, nistitir shatam, for those desiring to cross over. Kalim, the age of Kali. Sattva haram, that which deteriorates the good qualities. Pumsam, of a man. Karnadhara, captain. Iva, as. Arnavam, the ocean. We think that we have met your goodness by the will of providence, just so that we may accept you as captain of the ship for those who desire to cross the difficult ocean of Kali which deteriorates all the good qualities of a human being. Purport. The age of Kali is very dangerous for the human being. Human life is simply meant for self-realization, but due to this dangerous age, men have completely forgotten the aim of life. In this age, the lifespan will gradually decrease. People will gradually lose their memory, finer sentiments, strength, and better qualities. A list of the anomalies for this age is given in the 12th canto of this work. And so this age is very difficult for those who want to utilize this life for self-realization. The people are so busy with sense gratification that they completely forget about self-realization. Out of madness, they frankly say there is no need for self-realization because they do not realize that this brief life is but a moment on our great journey towards self-realization. The whole system of education is geared to sense gratification. And if a learned man thinks it over, he sees that the children of this age are being intentionally sent to the slaughterhouses of so-called education. Learned men therefore must be cautious of this age, and if they at all want to cross over the dangerous ocean of Kali, they must follow the footsteps of the sages of Naimisharanya and accept Sri Sutta Goswami or his bona fide representative as the captain of the ship. The ship is the message of Lord Sri Krishna in the shape of Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam. Tvangna sandarshito dhadra dustarang nistitirshatam kaling sattvaharang pungsam karna dhara ivarnanam. Om Jnana Timirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Shrishtam Manumapi Shachiputra Matra Surupam Rupam Tasyagrajam Urupuring Maturim Goshtavartim Radha Kundam Girivaramaho Radhika Madhavasha Prapto yasya pratita kripaya Shri Gurum tam natosmi Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Ataf Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagarna Raghunatandvitam tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parjana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shivashakhanvitamscha Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan Tine Smarane Hoy Bigna Binashan Anayashe Hoy Nijavanchita Puran Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The sages at Naimisharanya, headed by Shonaka, who acts as the spokesman, are addressing Sutta Goswami. You are the right person to guide the ship across the ocean of the age of Kali. Of course, the whole of material existence is also compared to an ocean, Bhavarnava, very difficult to cross. The ship is the message of Lord Sri Krishna in the shape of Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam. Elsewhere in Bhagavatam we find Krishna himself comparing the human body to a ship and the spiritual master to the captain, and the instructions of Shastra to be like favorable winds. Krishna says, Nridehamadhyang sulabhang sudurlabhang plavan sukalpo guru karnadharam. Same word, karnadhara, the captain of the ship. Mayanukulena nabhasvate ritam puman bhavabdhim nataret sa'atmaha. Krishna says, having obtained the human form of life very easily, means we're now in a human body, which is very rarely attained. It's hard to imagine how rarely it is obtained if we try to consider how many living beings there are in the universe. Eta brahmanda bhari ananta jivagan charasi lakha jonite kare brahman. There are unlimited living beings in one brahmanda, only one brahmanda, who are wandering in 84 lakh species of life. The human life is very rarely obtained. And Krishna says, Sulabhang sudurlabham plavan sukalpo guru. For the human body is like a ship, and if one has this ship, we also need a captain to guide the ship in the dangerous waters. There are some waters, traditionally they're considered very dangerous, and only expert captains can guide the ship through. I'm talking about navigation and the oceans. In some places, don't go at all. It's too dangerous. They thought the Titanic is unsinkable, but it sank. So the oceans can be very dangerous. One area don't go to at all, South Pacific, because there's no wind, and you just get stuck there. But if we have the wind, we need a favorable wind. Just as in Ireland, there's a saying, may the wind always be behind you, which is not possible. It's the cold wind blowing in off the Atlantic. We get it here in England also. But if the wind is behind us, say we're sailing west, then it's very favorable to have a wind blowing from the east behind us. If we're sailing, especially in a sail ship, even airplanes today, if there's a wind, what's that called, crosswind or counter? What's that called, the wind in your face when you're sailing an airplane, Rishikesh? The wind, when you're flying into the wind, what's that wind called? Headwind, that's it, yeah. So if you're flying into the wind, the plane will take longer to go, even with big jets today. And if you have a strong wind behind you, that's very favorable. So Krishna says that the instructions that I give in Shastra are like favorable winds for taking us across. Okay, so we got a good boat, we got a good captain, we got the good winds. So Krishna says, having all these opportunities, if we don't cross the ocean of material existence, then it's just as if we are killing ourselves. Not exactly killing, but it just means ashadadhana purusha dharmasyasya parantapa aprapya mang nivartante mrityu sangsara vartani. If we don't develop faith in the devotional process, then we don't attain Krishna, and we have to go back into the rotation of repeated birth and death. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jatarai shayanam. Again and again getting born, again and again dying, again and again entering a mother's womb. So that's almost worse than death. The Shastra describes the situation in the womb. The child is cramped up. She can't move. And the mother eats all acidic foods. And people don't know in non-Vedic culture. The mothers, pregnant women, they have to very carefully control their diet. Otherwise very detrimental to the child in the womb, who suffers from 7 months onward. They have consciousness develop consciousness, and they suffer so much. That's practically worse than death if you are given such a situation. But we get it again and again and again. So we should take advantage of this opportunity. I'm speaking on this verse today, which is especially appropriate as there's an initiation ceremony. Later in the day, Shonak says to Sutta Goswami that you are the right captain for guiding our ship. Now if we consider the sages at Naimisharanya were very exalted personalities. Srila Prabhupada had the other end of the spectrum. Of course, sometimes he said that you're all sent by Lord Chaitanya. But sometimes he said they're all not even fourth class men. Fourth class men mean Shudras, not even fifth class, 10th class. But Srila Prabhupada is an expert captain, could guide people over the ocean of the age of Kali. But even the sages at Naimisharanya, they were already feeling the influence of the age of Kali. Kale sattva harang pungsam. Kali takes away all the good qualities of a human being. And we see that. We can see in our lifetimes. And those of us who are older, we remember that our parents' generation saying, oh, how bad we are. And we look back and think, well, it was much better. Now things are much worse. And that's Kali-yuga. We lament in India at the degradation of the culture. This, who was that? Was it Vedanta Deshika? He went, this is hundreds of years ago, went to North India and lamented the degradation of the culture there. In India, we think, well, a few hundred years ago it must have been very good. Vedic culture was going on well, but he was lamenting the degradation of the culture. And that's expected because tatas, what is that? Every day, tatas chanu dinam dharma satyam shocham kshama. What is it? Satyam shocham daya. What's the next line? Next one. Satyam shocham shama daya. Kalena balina rajan nang shantyaya balang smritihi. In Kali-yuga, with the passing of every day, dharma, religious principles, truthfulness, satyam, shocham, purity, cleanliness, kshama, tolerance, daya, mercy, compassion, bodily strength, mental strength. With the passing of every day, these decrease in Kali-yuga. So things get worse and worse and worse. We find in Bhagavad Gita, in the beginning, Arjuna is afraid that if all the Kshatriyas, the powerful protective men, are killed, then women will be unprotected and they'll be subject to impregnation by all different kinds of men, and then Varna Sankara will be born. Children born without purificatory rites, Vedic purificatory rites, sanskars, and such people born. What happens is that souls are placed in different bodies according to the consciousness of the parents, the situation. It's all quite complex, and it's all supervised by Paramatma. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hrideshe junatishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantrarudhani mayaya. Under the supervision of Paramatma, certain souls get placed in a situation which is suitable for them. Sada sadyoni janmasu. It may be a relatively good situation, or maybe a relatively sinful situation. So those with sinful propensities are placed in a situation where they can express themselves, where they can indulge in those sinful propensities. And then what happens is, what's going on in Kali-yuga is that we have all Varnasankara population. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur pointed this out. When the Brahmana by birth faction were trying to exert their superiority, we're Brahmanas by birth. By birth, generally in Vedic culture, by birth will go, because if you're following the Vedic system, and Brahmanas, and they follow all the sanskars, and they have the culture, then generally in the womb of such a mother, Krishna as Paramatma will arrange for a soul who's developed piously to take birth in such a womb. And we find that in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita also. And we see still today in some Brahmana families who are still committed to their culture, that they do still, they again and again, generation after generation, even up to the present day, they have children born who take to that culture very well. Srila Prabhupada in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita in his purports discusses this, how there are acharya families who generation after generation, they act as acharyas. That can become degraded also. It was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was protesting against this. But he didn't discount the possibility or the actuality of people born in acharya families being acharyas. It's not that you're disqualified from being an acharya just by being born in a family which is traditionally giving initiation, but you have to be up to the standard. That's the point. But what's happening is that Varna Sankara are breeding with Varna Sankara, and it goes on, so generation after generation, it gets worse and worse and worse. But the great facility of Kali-yuga is the Sankirtan movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which goes straight to the soul. Otherwise, Varna Sankara, or very degraded people, they have no opportunity to come up. Very difficult for them to come up at all. In Varnashram system, the Shudras, that's considered an insult to call someone a Shudra if they're not of Shudra background, or even if they are of Shudra background, because it's considered their consciousness is very low. That's why they got birth in such a situation. But then Krishna says, Mang hi partavya parshritya yepi syuv papa yoneha striyo vaishas tata shudras tepi yanti param gatim. That even persons who are of sinful birth, women, vaishyas and shudras, they can attain the supreme destination if they take full shelter in me. Krishna doesn't say chandalas. He doesn't say Englishmen or Frenchmen or Swissmen. He doesn't say that. They're just considered just beyond the pale. But then we have in Bhagavatam, Kirata Hunandra Pulinda Pulkasha Abhira Shumba Yavana Kasadaya Ye Neja Papa Yadapashraya Shraya Shudhyanti Tasmai Prabha Vishnave Namaha. The power of Vishnu is demonstrated in this verse. Not by saying how he creates, maintains and destroys millions of universes, but by saying that by the potency invested in his devotee, even people of completely outside Vedic culture, they can attain the highest perfection. And practically that was demonstrated. by Srila Prabhupada. There were instances in the past also, we find quoted in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Prabhupada presented the nectar of devotion, that even persons of Chandala background, they can become topmost Vaishnavas. Chandalo pi dvija shreshta Hari Bhakti Parayanaha. That the best of the, or better than the twice born, is the Chandala who's a devotee of Lord Krishna. Then what's the next line? Next line, anyone know? Anyway, the purport is that someone may be a very highly born Brahmana, but if they're not a devotee of Krishna, Vishnu, then they're lower than the Chandala. These are very revolutionary statements. They're in Shastra, but difficult to comprehend difficult to comprehend for people in the Varnashram system until Srila Prabhupada actualized it. It was in the Bhagavatam, but Srila Prabhupada made it possible. He showed it can be done. Srila Prabhupada, the expert captain of the ship for crossing the dangerous ocean of Kali. How are we going to guide people from such a wild, untrained, uncivilized background and make them into devotees of Krishna? Srila Prabhupada brought devotees from the West to India and to show them off to the Indian people. You see, these people you want to follow them? They're following your culture. Why don't you follow that? And many Indian people were delighted, but some were not delighted. They were just the opposite. They're thinking, what's this? How can these... It was normal, very common, many times a day in India in the 1970s. People would say, you cannot be a Hindu. Oh, thanks a lot. I don't want to be. But you cannot be a Hindu. You have to be a born Hindu. Maybe in your next life you can be a Hindu. That idea is there. Because Hindu, one definition I believe Nehru gave that, is someone who's in the caste system. That means Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Shudra. The tribals and the OBCs and all the scheduled tribes, they weren't considered. Now the Vishwa Hindu Parishad and others want to call them Hindus, but previously they weren't considered. They want to call them Hindus because they're all becoming Christians. Anyway, that's another story. But that anyone from any background can become a devotee of Krishna. How can you train such uncultured, uncivilized people to take up the principles of Krishna consciousness? Even Srila Prabhupada several times expressed that, well, my guru ordered me to go to the West, but I wasn't very hopeful. He said, several times said this, because his own godbrother, who had gone to the West in the 1930s, Goswami Maharaj, had told Srila Prabhupada that he, Goswami Maharaj, had spoken to many of the elite of British society. In those days, Britain was ruling the world, or at least they thought they were. Politically, they were top in the world. Politically, economically, militarily, they were top in the world. And then the top of British society, Goswami Maharaj had access to at least some of them. And one of them, who was a great supporter of the Gauriya mission activities in the West, in England, that Lord Ronaldshay, he jokingly asked, because he'd been in India, he had been the governor of Bengal, and he asked Goswami Maharaj in London, can you make me a Brahmana? And Goswami Maharaj, which is a little bit of a poking or a joking question. And Goswami Maharaj said, yes, but you have to give up meat eating, illicit sex, gambling, and intoxication. Lord Rolandsheh laughed and said, we can't give up those things. That's our very life. That's what life is all about. In the 1960s, Allen Ginsberg, famous in that generation in America, he had also been to India and interacted with the Hindus in various settings, learned to chant Hare Krishna, not from Srila Prabhupada. And he was doubtful of Srila Prabhupada being able to be successful by presenting such an Indian kind of culture. He was suggesting to Prabhupada, you have to try and make it more Americanized so people can accept it. And he said to Prabhupada, you really want to make these people Brahmanas? Prabhupada said, yes. Allen Ginsberg was very doubtful. But Prabhupada had great confidence that they can become Brahmanas. He wasn't just wanting to make them chant Hare Krishna, but he wanted them to be leaders of human society, spiritual leaders, not very much interested in becoming political leaders or any other kind of leader, but spiritual leaders. So Srila Prabhupada was that expert captain of the ship, and he deputed his disciples to also guide others as gurus, spiritual guides. Sometimes we translate this guru as spiritual guide. It's quite popular in the West to say spiritual guide, but Srila Prabhupada translated it as spiritual master. There's a difference between a guide, spiritual guide, and a spiritual master. Spiritual guide means, yeah, you can take it or leave it. Guidelines, there are guidelines. There is GBC often they give guidelines. It's different to a law. The guideline means it's good idea. It's considered a good idea to follow it, but you don't have to follow it. But spiritual master means you should accept. So it's a very great responsibility. And we may think, well, Srila Prabhupada was such an expert guru. Even his godbrothers who are highly qualified, but they weren't able to crack the Western preaching. They weren't able to make significant progress. Not that they didn't do anything. And there were mitigating factors also. The Second World War came up. And in the meantime, the Gauriya Math was fracturing from within. But Srila Prabhupada, he was able to do that. And then we may think, well, yeah, Prabhupada was Prabhupada, and who are these who are acting as gurus now? They don't have the same kind of potency. But Srila Prabhupada always said that the potency is there in following. If someone tells you, do this, why should I do that? Because our Guru said do this, Shastra says to do this, tradition says, Guru says, Sadhu and Shastra. If we say the same thing, give the same message as it is, then the same potency comes through. Although there's always the danger of contamination, watering down, that Krishna speaks in Bhagavad Gita, Evang parampara praptam emang rajashayo viduhu sakalene hamata yogo nashta parantapa. Krishna said, I gave this knowledge long ago to the sun god, and he gave it. Imang vivasvate yogang proktavan aham avyayam vivasvan manave prahu manur ikshvakave bravit. I gave this knowledge to the sun god gave it to Manu gave it to Ikshvaku, evang parampara praptam imam rajashayo viduhu. And in this way, the knowledge was passed down from saintly king to saintly king in succession. But by the mighty power of time, it has become lost. So that danger is always there. But as long as the message is passed down without change, then the same potency should be there. Otherwise we may say, well, I'll hear directly from Krishna. We may not get the opportunity. So Krishna, he arranges for this knowledge to be distributed, and Guru, primary function of Guru is to give instruction, to give knowledge, spiritual knowledge. Agyanatimirandhasya jnana shalakaya chakshurmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave namaha. We pray to the Guru too, as the one who, by applying the ointment of knowledge, removes the darkness in the eyes, or the instrument for removing the cataract. The power to see is naturally there, but it is covered by some film which grows on the eyes, so that is removed and then one can see. So that's the general understanding of Guru. And then also has to demonstrate that. If Srila Prabhupada hadn't personally come to the West, how would people have known? How would they have been inspired? How would they have been guided? This recently in America, one young lady came to me and she said that, well, I came to Krishna consciousness via this Ritvik group, so I kind of theoretically understand I should take initiation, not in the Ritvik system, but at the same time I feel emotionally drawn toward them or whatever. I didn't say at the time, I thought about saying it, but I didn't say it, that my godbrother, Sava Bhavana Prabhu, told me, he had asked Srila Prabhupada, why you have the book, Bhagavatam, then why do you need, or why so much importance on the Guru? And Prabhupada said, the Guru can pull your ear. You can read the book, take it or leave it. But the Guru will tell you, do this, do that, don't do that. So I was thinking of telling her, who's going to tell you not to wear nail polish? I may think, well, what's that got to do with Krishna consciousness? Yes, that's the point. What's that got to do with Krishna consciousness? It's just bodily decoration, and it's probably made from animal products also. It may not be very costly, but you could spend it on something more Krishna conscious. And we're not against married women. Decorate the body, yeah, but do it in a traditional Vedic cultural way. You may think, well, what's that got to do with Krishna consciousness? But that's all part of the package. It's a minor point. I'm not sure if you can go back to Godhead with nail polish or not, but we don't hear about it in Golok Vrindavan. So the culture which they red feet, yes, that's described. Now the Indian ladies who all used to wear red on their feet, now they have red nail polish instead. Better have the traditional thing. Anyway, it's a small point, relatively small point. But just the point is there that someone will point out, tie your shika. If you have a shika, first of all, you should have a shika. You may say, well, that's not very practical in modern life. Yeah, true, there may be some adjustments. But if you're going to have a shika, it should be tied. All these things. Otherwise, things become very lax and loose and anything goes. Some strictness is required. The Vedic culture, it's a culture which helps us to be Krishna conscious. And the modern Western culture is for dragging us to hell. The modern Western culture is based on sense gratification, based on ignorance. We don't even know we're not the body, what to speak of having body after body after body. And the idea is just, live your life, enjoy your life, be good, be nice, so that we can all be happy together in ignorance. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. And who's to point out all this madness in this purport? Srila Prabhupada used this word, madness. Out of madness, they frankly say there is no need for self-realization, because they do not realize that this brief life is but a moment on our great journey towards self-realization. So madness, generation after generation, increasing more and more and more. Kali-yuga means the demoniac civilization becomes more and more pronounced. Just like in this school, which is supposed to be a school for promoting values, we see propaganda all over the place for LBG, whatever it is. What is it? LBGT, whatever. This is for little children. That's demoniac. You may say, whoa, don't say it. But it's demoniac. If we have to speak openly, then, which we should do, someone has to say it. I was speaking with a devotee yesterday about this, and he was saying, why are they programming children? Why are they giving all this to children, this sexual awareness to 4 and 5-year-old children? So he surmised that they're planning, once this generation got it in themselves that your gender is not determined by what's in between your legs, it's something in your head. Once they got that, and that children from the earliest age should be thinking about sex, the next thing they're going to bring in is, children also like to have sex, don't they? And adults like to have sex with children, and if it feels good, why not do it? That's what's coming next. We're always thinking, what's the next thing in the demon's agenda? And then what's after that? It's said at the end of Kali-yuga, people will have children just to eat them. Impossible? I don't think so. And what's going on now, this LB, whatever it is, stuff for children. For children! We couldn't even imagine it. And now it's life. That's the way it is. And if you don't go along with it, you're going to be, you have to go. You want to send your kids to school? We don't send the kids to school, right? All these horrible schools. Let's make a Hindu school. And it's right there in the Hindu school also. It's school for character, values. What values? The society forces it upon you, imposes it upon you. Very, very dangerous. The captain of the ship has to say, iceberg ahead. No, it's an unsinkable ship. Iceberg ahead and storm all around us. That's only one symptom of Kali-yuga. People have to degrade more and more and more, because here in this purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, the whole system of education is geared to sense gratification, and if a learned man thinks it over, he sees that the children of this age are being intentionally sent to the slaughterhouses of so-called education. Srila Prabhupada wrote this in the beginning of the 1960s. And if you look back to think, it was so much better in those days. But it was the same basic idea. Sense gratification. You go, education means you go so you can get a job, you get a degree, you get a job, and then you earn money and you enjoy your life, sense gratification. It was the same basic idea. And when you have this idea, then it just degrades, because the whole notion is degraded, degrades more and more and more. So it's unimaginable what more and more degradation will come. It's the age of Kali. Kaler sattva harang pumsam. The age of Kali takes away all the good qualities of a human being. What's the solution? Solution: stick to the process of Krishna consciousness. Chanting, studying, hearing, associating with devotees, taking Krishna prasadam. This is the process. You have to keep on with the process. Hear the message of Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and we have to apply it in our lives. It becomes increasingly difficult in a society in which even to speak about these things becomes socially, it's considered wrong, and then more and more it'll be by law, it will be imposed, so that you have to send your children to schools. Where in California, the children are trained like this from the very beginning. You have to choose which gender you are. And if you don't like being in the one you are, you should get operated on. And your parents, if they say anything against it, they'll take the children away from the parents. It's so demoniac. I could be arrested for saying that. Very bad age. Where to go, what to do. This America, the modern country called the United States of America, was founded principally by people from England running away from England so that they could practice the religion of their choice without harassment. Now in America, if you want to speak on these Christian principles, you can be arrested for doing so. So they turned it all around. The universities were begun as theological training centers. Oxford University, Cambridge University, Harvard University, Sorbonne. That was the first in Europe, right? Sorbonne in France. They were all theological training centers. Now they are bastions of atheism, where you're not even allowed to bring in. If you try to bring in any, not even theology, even any talk of any spiritual level, you're out. You're thrown out. And if you try to show scientifically, that happened at Harvard maybe 2 years ago. Someone made some professor, I mean, not just an uneducated person like me, but a professor, made a psychological study which showed that for certain professions, such as brain surgeons, that women don't have the apparatus to do it. They can excel in certain things, but thrown out. He was removed from his professorship. You can't, even a scientific I don't know how scientific their studies are, but thrown out. The agenda is forced on you. So where do we go? We can't run away from England to America because it's the same demoniac culture. Where will we go? You were showing me yesterday some Christians are running away to Russia because they think they'll be more they can be more protected there. I don't know if we'll be so welcome Hare Krishna devotees in Russia. It's a very dangerous age. At least we have to try to keep our own ships on track. Where can we go? Outer Hebrides? Find some island. They'll get you there. Their spy drones and satellites are everywhere. They're out to get you. We should seriously consider. We're looking to get a farm in America. we're looking at the best state for the laws, which allows you to educate your children. Looks like Alabama's the best so far, but you don't know. The laws can change. It's a very hard time, no doubt. But at least, the very least, the captain of the ship can point, hey, look, there are icebergs ahead. You say, no, it's not icebergs. It's good. It's good. LBGT, blah, 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 whatever. It's good. It's good. Just like sailing the Titanic. It's unsinkable. So it's all right. Never mind about the icebergs. It's unsinkable. But sakale neha mahata yoga nashta parantapa. The parampara can degrade. And in Kali-yuga, actually in every yuga, things are declining. That's the nature of time, and until the end of Kali-yuga, and then Satya-yuga is put in place again. But in Kali-yuga, the degradation is so fast that tatas chanu dinam, it seems practically every day things are degrading. So we have to keep with the program, stick with the program. The program is Gita, Bhagavatam, chant your rounds, keep association of devotees. Understand the difference between that which should be done and that which should not be done. Pravriting cha nivriting cha janana vidura suraha. The demons are characterized by their not knowing what should be done and what should not be done. And therefore, we should know according to Shastra. Shastra Utsrija Vartate. No, what's that? At the end of the 16th chapter, we have to know by Shastra. Tasmat Shastram Pramanam Te Karya Vyavastito Gyatva Shastra Vidhanoktam Karyam Karya Iharasi. We should know, according to Shastra, what should be done and what should not be done, and act accordingly. Otherwise we become demons. So we have to know what's in Shastra, we have to take guidance from Guru. Guru means the center is Shastra, and Guru is one who teaches what is in Shastra and how to follow, gives a practical example. And we should distribute this also, this message. That will purify the very sinful atmosphere. Chanting the holy names publicly and distributing these books. In this regard, I would call now Keshav Gokulanand. He's going to make a presentation. He's doing Bhagavatam set distribution and wants to enliven all of you to do the same. That's going on in Atlanta also. Should go everywhere. Distribute sets of. The amazing thing is, even in this fallen and degraded age, that there are people who are willing to take sets of Bhagavatam. People are still becoming devotees. So Krishna is still sending good souls. You want to present the Bhagavatam sets, isn't it? You're going to speak about that. Okay. I'm going to move on, and I'll come back a little later. And we're going to have a group photo around 12:30, something like that. Is it? Padmanabh Nityanand? Somewhere. Just before this, Padmanabh Nityanand, where is he? Not here. Anyway, he'd said that usually toward the end of these camps we have to thank everyone who's participating, organizing, donating, doing services, and I say, yeah, thanks to everyone, but I don't know who they all are, so he's supposed to come. And probably the ones we're supposed to be thanking aren't here, most anyway, because they're in the kitchen or cleaning up something. So thank you all for coming. No festival without participants. Chanting, dancing, hearing. It's not over yet. There's still another few hours to go. Here he is. So you're going to tell us about all the great souls. Mahatmanas tumang parata. Daiving prakriti mashritaha. All the great souls who are in the shelter of the divine energy, serving Krishna. So who's doing what? Let's have a big Hare Krishna for all of them. Give the mic.
Just in case I forget. So, Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for attending this camp. On behalf of Bhakti Vikasa Maharaj and all Maharaj's disciples, we're really grateful for everyone for joining. Firstly, in particular, Janaki Mataji for all the wonderful service she's done.
All her life.
Yeah. Particularly at this camp, bringing ahimsa milk from the farm. And
who brought ahimsa milk?
Janaki Mataji.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, transferring and bringing. And also all the other services, she's always helping with the serving prasadam, getting the transfer done. Secondly, Pradyumna Prabhu for his support with organizing the camp.
Oh, another thing is, we're not having Mangalati here tomorrow, because it's all clear.
Yeah.
We can, whoever's left, we can go to ISKCON Leicester, 4:30 in the morning. 4:30, remember, not 5 o'clock.
So yeah. Secondly, Sachi Tanaya Prabhu for his support with organizing and planning the camp. Shamananda Prabhu has been a big support with getting ready, with transporting devotees, and lots of other services he's been involved with, too many to mention. And also Narayani Kripa Mataji has been a very big support with organizing and overseeing all the prasadam cooking, organizing the menu, organizing all the cooks, all the local Leicester devotee cooks who have been cooking every day.
What's her name? Narayani Kripa?
Narayani Kripa Mataji.
Narayana or Narayani?
Narayani.
That's
Kripa.
really Narayani Kripa, because that's the job of Lakshmi, is to feed everyone, right?
Oh, yeah. So yeah, she's been very enthusiastic in this service. If someone can please call Narayani Mataji, I didn't realize this is going to happen right now. I'll mention her again in a minute. Shama Charan Prabhu as well has been a very big help. Deva Prabhu has been very big help with helping with how much quantity of prasadam we need to book and bring. And a big help with making sure the kitchen, we know how to use all the kitchen facilities, and prasadam everything is on time. We also want to thank all the local Leicester devotees who have really helped with cooking the prasadam, transferring, serving, cleaning the prasadam dining hall, and also the cooks that have been cooking kindly for Maharaj's lunch, prasadam. I would like to thank Priya Sundari Mataji for overseeing the kids' activities and keeping the children engaged. Also like to thank Alkesh Prabhu, Raghunath Prabhu for his kind support in arranging travelling brahmachari stay in the ISKCON Leicester ashram. And we'd also like to thank Amani Prabhu and Amalatma Prabhu for all their support and organising the whole camp and keeping everyone engaged in services. And Amani Prabhu wanted to give a little shout out to Bhakta Nimai as well, his son, who's been helping the last 3 days with lots of service as well. So, but thank you for all the Leicester congregational devotees.
So
and
Bhakta Nimai is how old? 8 years old? Not even that.
Is he here?
He's somewhere out helping, doing some service.
Doing something. And yes, Narayani Kripa Mataji is here. So thank you, Mataji, for all your kind help over the last 3 days, overseeing all the cooking prasadam, arranging all the cooks nicely. She's been very enthusiastic with lots of ideas, how to make the menu very nice and very opulent. So very, very big help, Mataji. Thank you. And all the local devotees, she's engaged a lot of local devotees and support. So thank you.
Hare Krishna!